So now you're in the program, and that's great. But the real prize in the cereal box is passing your content test, because that's what makes us all hireable. So let's talk about how to pass that. The test, not the prize. Okay, so the first step for most new teachers is to pass your content exam. The content exam is given by a company called PEARSON. PEARSON is the same company that gives like real estate exams, and they give GMAT tests. So if you've ever taken something like that, you may have been in this setting. It's going to be in a computer lab. It's going to cost, as of the date of this video, about $116 each for each test you have to take. And they give you 5 hours to complete them. Now, I've taken a few of these, and they take me about 2.5 hours, and I'd say I'm average speed. These tests, by the way, they're all under the umbrella of exams called TExES exams. So let's talk about how to prepare for that. Each content test basically has two components. One is the content, which we expect you to already know. We accepted you in that area because we saw on your transcripts or your work history or something that you have experience in your content. So if you're trying to teach math, we expect you to come to us with math knowledge. The second component is the pedagogy on the test. That's the teaching method. Now, this is where ECAP can help you. If you don't have any teaching experience, that's fine. ECAP can teach you the basic theories behind pedagogy and what TExES uses for pedagogy, and you'll be able to integrate those theories with your content knowledge and answer the teaching method questions by the time you're finished. But for content, again, we expect you to have content knowledge when you come to us, but let's say, like me, I'd been out of school for a long time, and I really needed to brush up on some of my content. So here's some resources, and we'll put links in the description, but here's some resources you can use to help. These are the ones that we find the most helpful. First is the Pearson website. Pearson is the agency, as I stated before, that writes and proctors these tests. When you go to their website, you can look at each exam, and they have preparation materials for each test. Now, what they give you is basically a list of what is on the test, or knowledge statements, things you need to know. This isn't a question format, so it's not helpful to teach, but it's helpful to inform. Like, you can read it and you can say, I do know this, I do know this, I do know this, but I don't know that. So you know the things you need to learn. Now, Pearson also does have a short quiz or example questions for each test as well. And those are the best example questions you can find, because they literally pulled them off of the real test. So the other reviews you're going to find out there have good questions, but they were written by individuals who went and took the test and tried to design questions. These questions used to be on the real thing. The next best, I believe, resource is Khan Academy. It's KHAN, but we'll put a link in the description again. Khan Academy is a website for teachers, and basically, guys, it's free, and teachers use this to assign tutorial videos to their students. Like, if I have a student that needs to learn the quadratic equation, but I don't have time to go stand with them and teach them this again, I can pull a Khan Academy video and put the student there in front of it, and it will help teach them. They're very well designed. They're very easy to understand. They're designed for students, but as a result, they're probably the best teaching resource even for teachers who just need to brush up. So I really like that website. Finally, any TExES exam review provider. So there's several big ones, but I'll tell you the one that ECAP likes. We like CERTIFY Teacher. We used several different reviews in our company when we first started using providers, and CERTIFY Teacher had the best pass rate. So that was our decision maker. They give you test and quiz-based reviews. So you're going to answer example questions, and then they're going to give you feedback on your answers, and then they're going to give you more questions. It's diagnostic in nature, so it doesn't keep testing you over what you know. It only tests you over the things that you need to learn. And the other thing that they have is they have a flashcard module in most of their reviews that's very good for vocabulary, and vocabulary is the killer in these tests. So we expect you to know your content, but we've given you some examples of places to go to learn that. In the beginning, when you get into the program, we're going to put you or have you purchase a test review. So you're going to have access to that certified teacher test review that we were talking about. That's where you're going to discover that you do or you don't understand teaching method. And this is where you communicate with ECAP as to what your needs are, or we watch your review progress and communicate to you what your needs are. We have coursework for people who have never taught. We have coursework that defines the elementary principles of teaching method. And I'm just going to name them. The primary two principles of teaching method are Bloom's taxonomy and Maslow's hierarchy. And if you just look those terms up in Google, you'll come to understand one of those has to do with meeting a student's needs before you can go to the next highest level of need. And the other deals with simply levels of thinking, like knowledge level, which is your basic level of thinking, all the way up to evaluation, or synthesis level, which is the highest level of thinking. When you learn these two theories, you learn how to evaluate activities and you learn how to write lesson plans around them. And those kinds of things can be taught and are taught in ECAP coursework. So if all of this sounds like French to you, then you're going to want to be put in the course we have called Connections. It's our very first course that explains these things. It takes you through example lesson plans and basically quizzes you over and teaches you these methods. We have courses specific to elementary teachers, courses specific to special ed teachers that cover all of the different pedagogical and like paperwork requirements and those kinds of things. So anything that's related to school, we can teach you, and there will be no problem with that. We've got plenty of coursework. But content is what you need to know. But we like to see where you are. We like to get you a baseline in the review in the beginning so that we can see how to get you to test the most quickly or the quickest way possible, because passing your content test is what makes you hireable. So this doesn't do you any good if you're reviewing through a test and you pass through August and September and October and you miss the hiring season. So a lot of this stuff is time sensitive and we need to get you to test quickly. But we also want you to pass your test on the first try. We think ECAP has an excellent method of individual evaluation and flexibility in the coursework that you have access to make you successful in that endeavor. So now you're probably really confused about this testing stuff. But what's going to happen is our testing coordinator at ECAP is going to give you a phone call as soon as you get enrolled. You're going to tell them what your experience is, whether you've been an educational aide or whether you've taught before or just what your history is. And that's going to help that person identify a good path for you, whether you need to do some coursework before you get into your test review or whether you can go straight to that review. At any rate, we're going to help you pass that test as quickly as you can pass that test. I've had people in the program take the test after a week and pass it. I've had some people take a few months to pass a test, and both of those are just fine. It just depends on what your starting point is. The real goal for you, though, is to get your content exams passed by the hiring season for the year you want to teach. The hiring season for any given school year typically begins in June or July, and it can run all the way through September or October, depending on each year's a little different, but typically September or October is normal for the end of that hiring season. You want to be in there early, so apply early, study as quickly as you can, and get that test passed as quickly as you can, and then you can be comfortable that you're going to find a job if you're in the market early enough.